This is Unity, and let's walk through how to, well, make platforms move. It's just one step, obviously, in creating a platform game, but it's an important one. And focusing on the small details first and building the game out slowly is definitely the way to approach and learn about Unity, Unity's physics, and what you can do with 2D Unity. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the tutorial. And I'm going to walk through how to make a moving platform, perfect for, well, platform-style games. And something pretty straightforward to do, a nice beginning project, all right? It is going to be in 2D, so let's get started. I've already named mine. I'm going to click Create. And perfect, here we are. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and create a folder for my sprites. And again, with a platforming game, it's a really great way to dive into some of the physics involved with Unity and have a fun product at the end. So the platform I'm going to use, I already have them open here, is an ice block. I'll post these sprites below. I made them, so of course you're free to download and use them if you would like. I'm going to drop in my ice block platform for the ground, and there it is. Okay, some, I guess, housekeeping stuff. I'm going to change the camera to a lighter blue because I like it. And then for this game, let's go ahead and do, I like 16 by 9. And that's looking great. I actually might go a tiny bit lighter, but it doesn't really matter. Perfect. All right. So now let's go ahead and drop in our handy dandy platform. Whoa, it's huge. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and rename it Ground, we'll say. All right, simple enough. And let's see, I think maybe 0.2. I guess it depends the type of game you are making, but I'm kind of liking this scale of a 0.2, maybe even a 0.3, but that's going to be too large for for my purposes. Let's see, 0.25. Yeah, I'll put 0.25 for now. There we are. Here is our platform. All right, now for the actual movement. What we're going to want to do for movement on this, we need to add a script. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Add Component, and I am going to use, actually, Ground Script. I like to write script behind them. It helps me keep track of what I have. I'm going to hit Enter here and Create. Okay. Now, it's not going to pop up right away, but it's right here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. It's good to stay organized as projects get more complicated. Ground Script is going to go in my script folder. And let me open up the folder. Let's open this up. Great. Here we are. So we need a few things right off the bat. Maybe I'll actually shrink this down a bit. All right. So first off, I'm going to need some variables here. We got to set a speed for our platform. Okay. And to do that, I'm going to use a variable. Let's do a public float. Public means I will be able to see it in the properties side over here in the properties bar. Public float up speed, which is shockingly going to be the speed at which the platforms can move up. I'm going to start it at a 2.5, and float just means it has a decimal. Okay. Oh, and now that I'm thinking about this, we're also going to need a rigid body component. So let me push this over some just so we can kind of get some visuals. All right. There we are. So we need a rigid body component. Let me go ahead and click on ground, and I'm going to need to add a rigid body 2D. Great. And I'm also going to need a collider. Box collider 2D would make the most sense. Let's just check the... Oop, I'm on game. So let's edit the collider here. Mine's far too large. Something more like this. Okay. All right. So now with that all set up, we want we're going to use private. We're going to get the rigid body, right? We're going to get the vertices and all of that are making up our sprite image. They are our game object, and the ground is a game object. Let's call this ground rigid. I'm not exactly creative with my variables. It's nice to keep track of them in a simple manner. All right, and then I'm going to need one more variable, and that's going to be a float. And that's going to be the starting x value of the of the platform. And that's because if you have multiple platforms, which you might want to do with this, you don't want to have them bump into each other by them randomizing across the screen too much. All right? I mean, you could if you would like that, but this is one way to control it. So I like to set it up in advance in case of that situation. All right, now what are we going to need? Well, I want ground rigid to be equal to something. And you don't want to do this until the game is actually started, right? We need the ground to be in existence and the rigid body to be there before we ask for it. Okay? So now ground rigid, as opposed to just being a kind of empty, a null variable, it is going to be equal to the actual rigid body of our platform. And now x start. And again, this is going to be used in the case of randomization. We can always know the default or the original x position of the platform. If you are doing a platform runner from left to right, you would just want to grab the y, original y position. So you have that knowledge in case you need it. I'm going to get rid of this comment and this comment. We don't need those. All right. Now within update, there's going to be a few things we need. But let's start with ground rigid dot velocity, and it's going to equal a new vector. Okay, we're going to create a new vector to 0 up speed. And remember, a new vector 2 are all those like vertices and points. So we're going to create this new vector and push it onto ground. So ground's now going to need to move up to where this new vector is. And this new vector is going to be going up by up speed, right? The velocity of the ground rigid's velocity is going to be going up by up speed each time update runs, which is once per frame, 30 times a second usually, but it kind of depends on your setup. All right, now we need to have a respawn, right? So this is going to work. I'm going to hit save. Well, hopefully this is going to work, and let's hit run. And it goes and goes and goes, and now it's gone forever. Okay? So we need a respawn function. To make that happen, I'm going to be predictable and say void respawn for a function name. Okay? And there it is. And now I'm going to do if transform position dot y. And again, if you're doing a left to right platformer, awesome. You just want to do a dot x here is greater than 6. So if the transform's greater than 6, that would mean, let me click on this, we can see right here, right, what's my x position, what's my y position, 0. Now let me grab this. Okay, so if it's greater than 6, it is definitely off the screen. And that's when we would need to respawn it. So if it's transformer, and what's a transform? Right here. That's what we're talking about. All right, if its transform is greater than 6, what do I want to have happen? Well, I want to randomize the movement of mine just a bit. I don't want it flying across the screen because I might put it in 3 eventually. So what I'll do for that then is I'm going to declare a local variable here. X position is going to be equal to random.range. And that's how you, well, make a random number in Unity, one of the methods. X start. And like I said, this way I can always stay somewhat close to the original starting position of the platform. -2. So, and then X start plus 2. F is for float. And maybe you don't want it to vary that much. For this, I'll have it vary by 2. But if it's clunking into things and you don't like that, you could have it vary by 1 or, yeah. So this means anything between, where's my starting position? Oh, it's at 0 right now. So right now it would be anything between -2 and 2 would be the respawn of my platform. Okay, for X. Now for Y. You don't have to do Y, but something that is fun about making Y random, if you do have multiple platforms, you won't have to, unless you want to, mess with speed, because this will make them also change how they line up. What I'm doing here for Y is I'm making it so it could respawn at -8 or -5. -8's like here or here. So if I had 3 of them, they all might respond at slightly different numbers, and they're all going to be jagged. And maybe this one's the highest one for the round, and then this one's the lowest, and vice versa, because it randomizes that. All right. And then finally, transform.position equals new vector to x position using these variables that we just made. Okay, let's make sure to save this. Let me click here. Oh, I didn't ever run this. That's a problem. I was like, why isn't it respawning? Well, we're going to respawn it here. So it's going to check each time if it has disappeared. Boom. So now let's see. I'm going to click here. Let's click duplicate. And I'm going to move my duplicate out. Let me zoom out a bit. Let's see what happens now. Now you have two platforms, and they will vary again with where they're at because of the randomization of Y. You could use a prefab. In fact, I end up using prefabs, right? But I just want to prove a point that this could already work for a bunch of platforms if you just want to do it kind of in a more simple way. I'll make sure to post all the code to this in the description. If you are interested in this, if you are interested in making a platformer, you should search out some other videos as I create and show off how to do, well, just that. And if this is helpful or it's not, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe. It gives me warm fuzzies and it is awesome. And I hope you make something really cool.